Tyler Perry can't make soul food, which is ironic considering that his movies and his original success came from the plays about the black family. Oftentimes conversations around soul food and food, like bringing black folks together, black families. He can't make soul food. And I want y'all to really think about that when I say it. Tyler Perry can't create soul food. Let's talk about it.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck
on. What is going on, you all? I know I hit y'all with a Tyler Perry video last week or whatever, but I was deep in thought and having a conversation with a friend, and it hit me like Tyler Perry can't create soul food. We were talking about Tyler Perry and his success and the recent pushback against his latest movie, Divorce in the Black, and how it was a disaster. Like a lot of the movies that he's put out like lately have just been bad. Like the movies where Madea is not in, they have been like worse. Like Medea's movies are not good to me. This is just not my what's the name. But the movies like Divorce in the Black, Mea Culpa, Acrimony lack a lot. They lack a lot. And Tyler Perry has the money and the financial backing to be able to invest in better writers and taking the story further. And his recent interview with Keke Palmer, he talked about highbrow people not enjoying his stuff. And a lot of folks have said, well, Tyler Perry makes content, he makes shows and stuff and movies and stuff for a specific audience. And for us to say that they're too dumb to understand it is like disrespectful. But a lot of folks are not saying that they're too dumb to recognize that it's not good. It's just, it's not written well. The plot in Tyler Perry's movies are always about shocking us and throwing something at us and making us think, but it's not actually making us think. It's making us think about how much of a disaster this was watching, to the point that a lot of us watch it out of just like shits and giggles. Like it is like watching something on TNT at 11 o'clock at night. You have to fall asleep. So maybe that's what he means. The specific demographic are the ones watching this while they're in the nail shop. Like something like, something just on. I'm not a Tyler Perry fan. Like that's my bias. I'll name that. I'm not a fan of Tyler Perry, but I am a fan of movies and TV shows and well-written black stories. And Tyler Perry is not able to do that. The Madea movies and stuff, looking at it now, it's honestly giving blackface, to be honest. The whole thing was this black woman who is being played by Tyler Perry, wearing a fat suit, like doing funny things, like changing her voice to make her sound like a man. And it's just like, it's bad. The Madea shows, plays, and movies and stuff remind me of the things that we have seen like back in the 60s and 70s, where it was like heavy minstrel shows, like oftentimes like white people playing as black characters. Like this is what this is. Like this is a new form of blackface. You have this man dressed up as a woman and not affirming the idea of a Madea, but making like funny things. The idea of Madea is for laughs. Like it is another version of drag. It is the reinforcement of these stereotypes and these tropes of black women being ghetto, loud, and all that other stuff. And there's nothing wrong with black women being that. Like a lot of folks are like that, period. But it is interesting to me that we don't see any women able to do that, like they're reversed. Like we don't see women dressing up as men and doing it. It doesn't work the same. Madea only works, and the butt of it is that this is not an actual woman. This is a man and his thought of what a woman is. And you see how that works? And like we're laughing at it. Like I quote some Madea stuff like you can't trust them. There's some like very funny things in the Madea plays. Like that's a part of the nostalgia of me like growing up, watching it, putting it on the VHS, the DVD, watching it and getting the laugh. Like it is that. And a lot of the stuff that we love, unfortunately, is not necessarily good. It's just nostalgia. It just makes us feel good because it takes us back to a specific time. which is why a lot of us are stuck on the 90s and we need to let it go. But that's a whole nother conversation. But um, going and looking at some of the stuff was like, oh my gosh, like paying attention to and really looking and understanding with a new set of eyes, like watching Tyler Perry and these shows and these plays and stuff, like the constant dragging and how dark-skinned black folks were treated on these movies and in these shows and in these plays was terrible. Like even us going back and watching Martin and how Martin talked about and described Pam while being a dark-skinned man who was in a relationship with a light-skinned woman. Martin's girlfriend never was the butt of jokes as far as like ugliness. It was just her being ditzy and da-da-da-da. But she was beautiful. Pam was beautiful too. But, you know, they called her all of the things like an animal and all the other stuff. And we have carried that stuff on. Like Mr. Brown's character being like a dunce and not intelligent, being fat and his stomach showing and all of that, like reinforcing the idea like the only person who can play this is a dark-skinned fat man. We don't see other versions of a fat character in these movies, plays, and TV shows unless they are the butt of jokes. Like they have to be constantly reminded that they're ugly. They're just here for laughs. Like we reinforce that. Like that's what that is. And we don't take them serious. Like the whole idea of Mr. Brown, like Medea keeps saying that Mr. Brown is ugly. The jokes about Medea being ugly and her breast hanging and all the other stuff. And this is being played by a man. It's not a woman, because we wouldn't feel quote unquote comfortable laughing if that was happening. Like look at all the history of all of the things we've laughed at with black men dressing up as women, and we feel safe laughing because this is not an actual woman. This is somebody dressing up. But the idea of femininity and womanhood being on display by being portrayed by a man, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. And we've become used to it to the point now that we have, you know, men still doing that content, like TikTokers, the folks on Instagram, like wearing wigs, making fun of black women in a way that doesn't affirm black women, but makes us feel comfortable laughing at this. That's what it's doing. So when I say that Tyler Perry cannot create soul food, he can't make soul food, I want to take y'all back. Soul Food is one of those movies that came out in the 90s. It still hits now. It's a lot of nostalgia for a lot of us, but it's also a lot of us understand the conversation of like grandmama losing the house, like Medea losing the house and, you know, taxes and stuff. A lot of us, you know, watch this and we're grown now and we can see it like, oh shit, like I always understood Terry's point. Like Terry being the breadwinner in the family and trying to make sure everything was good and like being the person that was keeping the family together financially, like was taking a toll on her. Like people wanted to call her bitchy and bossy and all other stuff, but she was the one who had her coins together. And it reminded me of my family, reminded me of my mother and my father. And, you know, I remember being a child and being punished for having my mother and father and both of them having jobs and stuff. But, you know, me and my brother did not receive like certain gifts and stuff when it came to Christmas or birthdays because we had both of our parents. And it's like, you know, why would we do this for y'all and y'all already have it? Like we need to give it to the ones who don't. And I understand it now. Like I understand it. But as a child, it's just like, why am I being treated differently? Why is that? Like, yes, my mother and father, you know, were financially stable, but my mom and dad didn't splurge money like that. Like Linda and Kermit did not spend money. Like we wasn't getting Jordans and stuff every time. Like my mom and dad, who were specifically Kermit, was very frugal, and I respected it because, you know, we didn't have to deal with certain things of like the lights being cut off and all the other stuff. But we were like treated differently because of that. So I understood the character of like, you know, the quote unquote bougie, like people call my mom and dad. It was like, my mom is not bougie. Like she just likes certain things. Like she's not, you know, she's not that. But, you know, looking now, I can go back and watch Soul Food. I can understand it. Like it wasn't using Medea as the butt of jokes, even though we've taken certain memes and stuff from that movie of Medea arm being like burnt because she had diabetes and all that. Like us making fun of Medea, your arm. And that's a real like thing. But you know, any fat character in any movie or TV show or just existing will be like used for memes, period. They can be serious, but we have no, going back to what I said about the memification of ugliness and how that we take joy out of making folks funny content who are read as undesirable. So what I'm saying is Tyler Perry cannot create and has not made a movie like a Soul Food. Tyler Perry hasn't made a movie like The Best Man. Tyler Perry hasn't made those significant movies that are embedded in the culture, like are classics. Like he can't even touch Love and Basketball. And that movie, there's a lot of criticism. He has not made anything like a Stella Got a Groove Back. Like even there's some criticism of all these movies, to be honest. But Tyler Perry hasn't made that. And he hasn't made it because he can't. It's because he won't allow himself to. He hasn't tapped into the beautiful writing of Black folks with the Black experience from different like ways of life. Like he hasn't tapped into those folks who are able to write certain things. Tyler Perry has relied on tropes and things in his movies. I think Tyler Perry thinks of himself as a pastor or preacher who is giving the word and the message. And it's just like, I don't think Tyler Perry even understands the word, to be honest. Because if you understood it and you were doing it well, you wouldn't have to put on a dress and a fat suit to get the word across. If you had to dress up like this to get this word out in the harm of Black women, I'm not interested in your word and your messaging. I'm just not. So I want people to like think of what Tyler Perry movie that he has made that's not Medea, that has made you like, oh, this is a classic. Like in the ways that The Best Man and Soul Food like are those movies. I can't think of them. I can't think of those movies that Tyler Perry has created. Mea Culpa was a disaster. Acrimony was not really good. And The Divorce in the Black had some moments from what people are saying, but it was a tragedy too. The movie that he did on Netflix, like, was a disaster too. You had microphones showing in the background, like wigs were different and different things. Like Tyler Perry wants to say that we're too snooty to enjoy it, but it's just like, you're too snooty to think that your folks deserve better. Like your people deserve better. Like you're throwing stuff to them because of your name and you're not really investing in good quality storytelling. There's so much, and there's so many people who have good storytelling about the experience of Blackness and don't feel like they have to do certain things. Like look at what Issa Rae was able to do with Insecure. Like phenomenal piece of work. I want Tyler Perry to do that, but Tyler Perry is relying on the same tropes of like anti-Black rhetoric and doesn't even realize it because he probably doesn't even understand it, doesn't want to, doesn't feel the need to, because who is anyone to challenge a billionaire who is making money off of this? Like the only way to change them is to take money from them. That's why y'all shouldn't exist. So I end this video like as a quick video to say that Tyler Perry can't create soul food. He doesn't have the recipes. He isn't interested in learning about the recipes. He's not studying. He is making crap constantly. And we are eating it and being okay with it because we don't think we deserve a better taste. Some of us. I know I deserve better. And just because something is being made by a Black person doesn't always make it good, but that's the direct result of racism. Like we don't have a lot of Black movies and TV shows and stuff. But got to be a little bit more critical on the Black stories that we're getting, because a lot of them are getting by just because they're Black and they're not good. They're not good. So I'm just hoping that Tyler Perry one day learns that and is able to give us something that is meaningful and something that will, you know, stand the test of time. And I don't think he's done. If you think so, comment below, let me know, and I'll talk y'all later. Bye.